Vaishnavamanapi Eshachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasakajam Uripurim Maturim Goshtvartim Radhakundam Girivaram Ahoradhika Manavasam Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Śrī Gurum Tamanatosmi Gurave Gaurachandraya Rādhikāra Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Leelamaya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadibhyats Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Maha Prema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Behina Aparada Lakshay Chiltastra Kamari Kripa Mahitam Shanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Vrinde Namaste Charanaravinda Govinda Dhamma Hey Krishna, Hey Yadava, Hey Sakhi, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Sham Sundar Shikhanda Shekhar, Smaraha Smurali Manohara, rādhikāra Sakumama Kripa Nidhe, Supriya Charna Kinkurim Kuru. Tavai vasmi, na jivami tvayavana, iti vikyaya devi tam, nayamam charnantikam. First of all, I offer my sastang dandavat puspanjali, my heart like flowers, thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadiya Paramaradhyatama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada, Ashtotarasata Śrī Rupanuga Acharya Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev to Śrīla Prabhupada and to all of our Śrī Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Vancha kalpatarun. Vaishnavibhyo namo namo. Sri Radha Govinda Ji ki. By the causeless mercy of Sri Gauranga, we have assembled together again in the Kunj of Sri Radha Govinda to hear the Katha, the nectar of Harikatha. Katha. Ka means come. Anandarupam. Krishnam. Ka means Krishna. And Ta means stira sthapayati. That by which Śrī Kṛṣṇa becomes firmly established in your heart is called Katha. And that is amrita. Relishable. So delicious. And if anyone will drink it, they become amrita. They become immortal. And they attain amrita, an immortal, transcendental spiritual form, in the pastimes of Śrī Radha and Krishna. So yesterday we were discussing the glories of Sri Advaita Acharya, how he is the transcendental cause of the upadan, the ingredients of this world. If anyone, by an empirical ascending process, tries to discover what is this world, what is behind it, they cannot. Because their investigation is limited only to effects. They see effects of the Shakti of the Supreme Lord. And when they try to find out what is behind this, they don't find the cause, but they simply find the effect in the previous state of transformation. And then stop there. Or maybe they'll investigate further, and then they may find the effect, never the cause, again the effect in the previous state of transformation. And all the effects go back, they resolve themselves gradually, and they become more and more subtle, up to pradhan, which is the shadow of the Shakti of Advaita Acharya. So that pradhan is undifferentiated. There's no variety there. So in the search for the cause of everything, by the ascending process, before you even get to the original undifferentiated form of the effect, before you even get there, your very instruments of investigation, such as your senses and mind and intellect, are already dissolved before you even get back to the original form of the effect. That is pradhan. So how can we seek out our origin if the very instruments by which we are searching it become dissolved before we even get to the end of the effect? How will we find the cause? So the cause is Advaita Acharya. He is always a doxaj, beyond the senses. And Sri Advaita Acharya, he represents the divine link between the resources of the conditioned soul and his spiritual endeavors. How can a person in this world engage in some activity by which he can become connected with transcendence? That connection is made by Advaita Acharya. He is and allows the living being to make their first step in spiritual life through the process of archan. The process of archan, that is Vaidhi Bhakti, establishes the connection between the neophyte devotee and transcendence. When the disciple surrenders to Sri Guru, then by the instruction of mantra and upadesh of Guru, then Advaita Acharya sends invisibly and unseen by the people of the world, unseen by the physical body and mind, a spiritual body within this body. And now the disciple engages in the service of the deity. Na devo devam archayat. And if he's fully surrendered, then Advaita Acharya, he nullifies the functions of the material elements of the body so that it never makes an impediment to the action of the spiritual body, which is actually performing the archan of the deity. So this is the role of Advaita. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Ṭhākura has translated the word Advaita as the divine synthetic personality. So what does that mean? Divine synthetic person. It doesn't mean synthetic like not organic. This is not organic, this is synthetic. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that Advaita, which means non-duality, he is that person who makes the synthesis of the conditioned soul's life and incorporates him into transcendence through the process of archan. Though in the beginning it is somewhat imperfect and it's also not spontaneous. So Advaita is the word Advaita means the divine synthetic personality. He is the person who makes the synthesis, who incorporates the resources of our conditioned experience into, brings our consciousness from there into the realm of transcendence and divine realization. Ultimately, Advaita Charya also acts to incorporate the whole experience of the living entity into transcendence in the very advanced state. Once Gurudev said to me, "Hey, Prem, what's the difference between Hamsa and Paramahamsa?" What's the difference between Hamsa and Paramahamsa? I said, "Gurudev, I don't know. Please tell me." He said, a Hamsa is that Vaishnava who is like a swan. Swan is the symbol of essential discrimination because according to the Kavi Praudokti, that means the metaphors and exaggerations of poets. If you mix milk and water, the swan can just drink the milk without taking the water. So he has the power of vivek, discrimination. So that Vaishnava who can completely discriminate between transcendence and Maya, between matter and spirit, and he takes spirit but not matter, he's called a Hamsa. So then what is a Paramahamsa? Well, just as the Hamsa can distinguish between milk and water, the Paramahamsa is that person whose consciousness is such that he does not have discrimination because for him there is only milk. There is only milk. There is no water. So that is the ultimate synthesis. And it comes by the mercy of Advaita Acharya. So now, yesterday at the end of the class, we discussed how one must follow very carefully the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti. Vidhi Maga Ratha Jani Swadinatna Ratna Dani. Raga Maga Karina Pravesh. Those who will follow Vaidhi Bhakti very carefully under the guidance of Raganuga Bhaktas, gradually their heart will become purified. They'll have some spurti, some internal vision of the associates of Radha and Krishna and become attracted to their ragatmik paripati. Ragatmik paripati means the methods of service. How do they serve Radha and Krishna? In what mood? That becomes illuminated. It causes the pure crystal of their heart to sparkle with the rays of the rag, the deep love of the associates. And then the devotee, having tasted that, now he doesn't engage in Sravanam, Kirtanam and so on, other angles of bhakti, because Shastra says so, or out of fear, or due to the application of logic. But rather, he is impelled to engage in bhakti due to that joy he feels, the illumination of his heart, when the rays of the rag, the intense love of the associates is manifesting in his heart. And then he can enter into the pure Raganuga sadhana. So there are two paths, Vaidhi Marg and Raga Marg, and they are distinguished by their pravritti. Pravritti simply means the motivation, that which is instigating you to act. So when a person yatra ragana vaptatvat pravritti upajayate shashaneva shastrasya sa vaidhi bhakti uchate. When a person is instigated to act due to Shastra and Shastra Yukti, the reasons, the logic, the argumentation of Shastra. But also, he does not have ruchi, he doesn't have taste in the moods of the eternal associates. That's the main thing. Yatra ragana bhaktatvat. Here, yatra ragana bhaktatvat means He does not have rag. No, he cannot have rag. Rag is of the eternal associates. It means he has not developed a ruchi, a taste for their rag. If that is absent, then he must depend on the use of buddhi, intelligence, logic, reason, the order of Shastra, a sense of duty, and so he engages in bhakti this way. But if such a ruchi in the rag will come, then he is impelled by greed, mature greed. So if the instigation to act is greed, that is called ragamarg. These two paths are different from the beginning, because if a person meets with a bhakta of Vaikuntha, then he'll develop the shraddha, a faith, which is related to regulative devotional service. But if from the beginning he'll meet a Vaishnava who is sinking in the very sweet mellows of Vrindavan, then he'll be attracted to that. And so his shraddha from the beginning will be lobhamoy, his shraddha, a faith which is based on a greed to relish the sweetness of the pastimes of Śrī Kṛṣṇa. However, now he has the raganuga pravritti. He has the inspiration. But unless and until ruchi will arise in the rag, he's not yet qualified to practice the shuddha sadhana, the pure sadhana of raganuga bhakti. Krishnam smaram janam chasya prastam nija samihita. So he is bound to follow all the vidhi, the rules and regulations of Vaidhi bhakti, until he goes, and he'll go much more quickly, because some greed is there in a very rudimentary form. And when he goes through anartha nivriti and nishta comes, then in the stage of ruchi, the taste will come and the attraction to serving, following in the footsteps of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's associates. So what's so important here is this. Perhaps you know that when our Sri Nimai Pandit, he left Navadvip and he went to Gaya to offer pinda for his deceased father, Sri Jagannath Mishra. At that time, he met with Śrīla Ishvara Puripad. And he'd already met Śrīla Ishvara Puripad before. Śrīla Ishvara Puripad had visited Navadvip. He used to give classes in the house of Advaita Acharya and other places, and Mahaprabhu was going and listening for several months. And he developed an attraction to him. But now this time, he met him in Gaya. Prabhu kohi tirtha yatra safalayama yarakshama dekailam charane tuma. Mahaprabhu said, oh, now my visit to the holy place is successful. It became successful the moment I saw your lotus feet. And he glorified Śrīla Ishvara Puripad. And he requested him to please accept me as your disciple, O Gurudev, and teach me Vedanta. Śrīla Ishvara Puripad said, you are murka. You are murka. You are fool. You cannot understand Vedanta. Just understand this. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalo Nashteva 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 Gatiranyata. In this age of Kali, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way except for Harinam, the chanting of the holy name. Harinam, the chanting of the holy name. But there might be some, no, Harinam. And, 3 times it's stated, that means no buts. Harinam. Harinam is the only way. So when we approach the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very often devotees forget this. You cannot approach the higher teachings that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has heard from Ramananda Rai about Raganuga Bhakti, or that he has given to Rupa Goswami, Rup Siksha or Sanatan Shiksha, and forget the very first teaching of Mahaprabhu's Guru. In other words, every word of Mahaprabhu, every teaching of Mahaprabhu and our Goswamis has to be understood under the light, through the lens of this verse. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. It's the first thing. Just because you move on, you don't forget the first thing. The first thing we have to know. You are murka. Who's a murka? I'm a murka. I'm the biggest murka here. This room is full of so many learned persons and I'm speaking like a murka. But what can I do? It is the Agya, order of Gurudev. So I'm speaking only for my own purification. So Harinam eva kevalam. Everything depends on Harinam. Tabi jani aparada tohete prachur. Krishna nama bija tahe nāri ankur. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad said, if a person is chanting the holy names, then what will happen? Krishna nama mahamantra eto swabhav. Ye jape tare Krishna upajay bhav. It's the swabhav, it's the nature of the mahamantra. That if someone will repeat this mantra, then bhav, ecstatic love will awaken in the heart. However, if that love is not coming, then what does it mean? Tabe jane aparada tohite prachur, that the person who is chanting has committed so many offenses. Therefore, Krishna nama bija tahi nāri ankur. The name is like a seed, Krishna nama bij. And because of committing the namaparad, then nāri ankur, that seed, it did not sprout. What does it mean that the seed of the holy name sprouts? It means abhinatvam nama namino. That when we chant the holy name, then the vigraha of Nam, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, the Rasa Vigraha of Sri Krishna manifests. And we experience abhinatvam nama namino. That the name of Krishna and Krishna himself, they're not two things. They're not two things. They're the same thing. That's the first ankur, the sprout of Nam Bij. That is called the Rupa Yukta Nam. Rupa Yukta Nam. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his very beautiful book, Godruma Kalpatavi, said when the devotee comes into the stage of Nishta, then he receives from Nityananda Prabhu the Rupa Yukta Nam. This book, Godruma Kalpatavi, is an explanation of the Namahata, the marketplace of the holy name. You know, Nityananda Prabhu opened a marketplace and he's selling the holy name. But what kind of name can you afford? Shraddha Mulye. It depends. The price is your Shraddha. So if someone will come to the marketplace of the holy name and he checks in his pocket and he's got Shraddha in the stage of Nishta, then he can buy from Nityananda Prabhu Rupa Yukta Nam. Understand? And if his faith has come in the stage of Ruchi, then when he approaches Nityananda Prabhu, then Nityananda Prabhu will give him the Guna Yukta Nam, the name in which the beautiful form of Krishna, but also his softness, his sweetness, and his qualities manifest, the Madhurya Anubhav. Ruchi Papa Bij Nashad Bhakto Madhurya Anubhavaha. Ruchi is the stage where not only is pap, sin in the heart destroyed, but papa bij, the samskars, the subtle impressions of sin, they're also destroyed, making the heart such an immaculate place that Krishna's sweetness manifests. And when we taste that sweetness, it's called ruchi. Ruchi means taste. And ruchi means abhilas. Because that taste fills us with desire to serve that sweetness of Krishna. So there is Guna Yukta Nam. And also the associates will appear. And then in Asakti, when the devotee's faith comes to Asakti, he can purchase from Nityananda Prabhu Lila Yukta Nam. The pastimes manifest along with the holy name. And therefore, when we speak of the subject of Raganuga Bhakti, you cannot divorce, you cannot separate Raganuga Bhakti from the internal realization that comes from the holy name. If there's no realization coming from the holy name, then one is depending on Prakriti, his own material mind, and that is called the Prakrita Sahaja Bhav, imitation, Pautulikata. Putalika means a doll. Like if you go to a department store, there are so many mannequins in the window. They look like human beings. They have 2 arms, 2 legs, eyes, everything. But they're not real human beings. So that's called a putalika. So it is an imitation of human beings. So our bhajan becomes pautalikata. That is an imitation of real bhajan when we are not depending internally on the sprouting of the holy name. So don't separate the later teachings of Mahaprabhu from his first fundamental experience in association with his Gurudev. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam eva kevalam. If one is chanting Namaparad, then there'll be no spurti, and then there cannot be any real Raganuga Bhakti. There's no such thing as someone who is practicing Raganuga Bhakti sadhana and committing Namaparad. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. So in a sober way, not in a sentimental way, but in a genuine way, one should understand this Bhakti Tattva. So, our Vishwanath Ṭhākura, he said that in Raganuga Bhakti, even though you're pravriti, the reason why you engage is not because of some logic and reason of the Shastra. But still, you'll have to use your buddhi, your intelligence, and study the Shastra to find out how to attain your goal. Understand? So it doesn't mean that just because your pravriti, your inspiration, your motivation is a spontaneous and free from the support of logic and reason, that you don't have to take shelter of Shastra Yukti, the arguments of the scripture and the guidance of pure devotees to find out how to get one's goal. So Srila Vishwanath Ṭhākura, he is quoted from the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There Lord Brahma says, Yatagni medasamritam cha goshu, bhuvanamam buddhyamane cha pratim, yogamanusya adiyanti hitvam, guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti. The meaning is this: kavayo vadanti, learned persons, enlightened persons, they say that guneshu, those persons who are presently now in the gunas in this world, buddhya, they'll have to use their intelligence. Yoga manusya adiyanti hitam, to find out the yoga. The word yoga has many meanings. It means union, but yoga, the word yoga also means upai, the remedy, the methodology. So here it means that the living entity must use his intelligence and learn from enlightened persons what is the methodology to attain his result. And so 5 examples are given in this verse. First of all, Yatagnim edasamritam chagoshu. Just as one learns how to make fire. Now it's so easy. You just turn the knob on the stove and the fire comes out. But in previous times it was more difficult. And if someone wanted to learn how to make fire, then someone who knew the technique, you would have to teach them. So first they would get the bottom piece, the arani wood, and it has like a concave indentation in it. And then they'd get the other piece of arani wood that you put on top into that hole, and these 2 are hard. And then they get the 3rd piece of wood, which is soft and very combustible, and place it in between the 2. And just as you wrap a rope around a churning rod and go like this, and it causes the rod to spin around and churn yogurt, so the rope is put around the churning stick, and then 2 brahmanas will pull the ends of the rope like this, and it will spin around this way and that way, and then from the friction then the fire will come out. Mhm. So, acharyo ranir adyas syad ante vasyo tararani. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, the acharya is the bottom arani wood, and the disciple is the top arani wood. And in the middle, tatsandanam pravachanam. The wood in the middle, which is highly combustible, is what? Pravachanam, the pravachan, the harikatha. And then, what will happen? Then, vidya agnim sukavaha. Then the fire will come, and that is vidya, transcendental knowledge. Vidya sandhi sukavaha. And when the guru and the disciple meet, and then there is the friction of pravachan, harikatha, then the fire of vidya manifests, transcendental knowledge. And that is the vidya sandhi sukavaha. It gives great joy to the disciple and great joy to the guru as well. So here, yathagnime dasamritam, if we want to attain our perfection in life in Ragamarg, then we must go to pure Vaishnavas, pure Braj Rasik, Rupanuga, Tattvavit Vaishnavas, and in their Sangha, here again and again and again. And the pravachan will be like that, the middle wood. And poof, the fire of realization will come. So this is the first example. So then the next example is Amritam Chagoshu. How does a person get milk? If someone says, I want to get milk, how can I get it? So now it's easy. You can just order on Amazon and they'll deliver it directly from the supermarket. But previously, if you wanted milk, then you'd have to learn how to keep a cow, take care of the cow. The cow must be pregnant. The cow has to give birth. And then after the cow has given birth, then you have to know how to do the milking. Dohan kriya, milking the cow. So, all these things one will have to learn in order to get milk. So in the same way, in order to get the aim and objective of Ragamarg, we have to learn from a Shiksha Guru, Kavayo Vedanti, the learned persons that will explain it. Here, there are some considerations. If you want to milk a cow, it's hard to get the milk flowing in the beginning. So what do? You bring the calf. If you bring the calf first, and the calf will suckle a little bit, then the milk will start to flow, and then the cowherd can come and very easily extract a lot of milk. So the meaning of this is, if one will practice Raganuga Bhakti, but in the association of other Raganuga Bhaktis, they will get the nectar flowing, and it will be much easier for you. Understand? Then, bhuvanam ambudhyamane cha pratim. Bhuvanam. Bhuvanam means attaining grains from the ground. This also has this example. How do you get grains? Well, they will grow from the ground. But this has some inner meaning, and that is that the grains will only grow from the ground today if they were planted in a previous season. So this indicates that in Raganuga Bhakti, there are two types of persons. Those who have to work very hard for a long time, trying to get the fire going. And there are those who quickly, they get the results. And those who quickly get the result, they're the ones for whom the seeds were planted in the previous season. That means previous life. So, praktana aduniki chasti, yasya bhakti vasana. The impressions of Raganuga Bhakti of two types, those which have come from this life. Some persons are just coming now and developing the samskaras, deep impressions, which are favorable for Ragamarg. And some persons, they're coming in this life and they already have deep impressions from the previous life. And so they begin to practice and everything is very spontaneous for them. Just like a person who now is taking grains from the ground is only because those seeds were planted in the previous season. Bhuvanam anbuddhyamane cha vrittim. Anbuddhyamane means also getting water from the ground. If a person begins to dig in the earth, he digs a little bit and then the water starts to come out. That also refers to the person for whom he had a lot of association, sadhu sangha, pravachan, harikatha in the previous life. He digs a little bit and he begins to relish. And then chabrittim. Here brittim means livelihood. If a person is a musician or artist, a dancer or an actor in Vedic culture, then they perform on the stage. And the audience, they're so elated seeing this performance. They all come and they give flowers and they give money and they give gifts there and then. Right there and then. So in the same way, the person who has very, very thick samskar from the previous life and this life, who immediately begins to hear and chant and remember Krishna, and they taste nectar right away. So that is like the vrittim. For them, there's no waiting period. There's no endeavor. Even though the endeavor for the previous person who's taking the water or taking the grains may be very short, but for him, there and then, as he's practicing, he's experiencing all the nectar. So that person has the gara, sanskara, extremely deep impressions for Raganuga Bhakti. So, in this Ragamarg, one follows the eternal associates, the Brijvasis. And the speciality of those associates is they never think that Krishna is Bhagavan. They never think that Krishna is God. You know, Lord Brahma came to Braja. He knows that Krishna is God, that's why he couldn't stay and he had to leave. Indra came to Braj. He knows Krishna is God, he also had to leave. Akrura came to Braj, he also had to leave. Whoever comes to Braj and knows that Krishna is Supreme Lord, they cannot stay there. That is not their place. So, Shakali Jagati Mari Kari Vidhi Bhakti. Vidhi Bhakti Braja Bhava Paiti Nahi Shakti. Krishna himself said, in the whole world, most of the people, they are worshipping me according to Vaidhi Bhakti, Vidhi Bhakti. I must serve Krishna because Ete Angsa Kala Pungsa. Krishna's too. Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Vidhi Bhakti Braja Bhava Paiti Nahi Shakti. Following Vaidhi Bhakti does not have the power to awaken the mood of Braj. Not possible. Aishwarya Ganati Sabha Jagata Mishrit. Aishwarya Shitila Prema Nahi Mora Preet. Krishna said that if someone knows that I am Ishwara, that is called Aishwarya Gyan, knowing that Krishna is Ishwara, then their love becomes slackened. Why? Because God is Atmaram, He is self-satisfied. He doesn't need anyone. We all need Him. But if a person thinks Krishna is the Yashoda Nandan, the son of Yashoda, he is Nandalal. He's just a boy in Braja. So he gets hungry, he gets thirsty, he gets tired. He needs us. Then that love is never complacent. It's never slack. There's no shitil. Shitil means the slackness in that seva. So Krishna said, Aishwarya Shitila Prem Nahi Mora Preet. The love that becomes slack due to thinking, oh Krishna, you are God. This, though it can please me to a certain degree, but I'm not satisfied by this. I'm not satisfied by this. So then the question comes, how can a person overcome this Aishwarya Gyan? To follow in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. You have to forget that Krishna is God. Once Gurudev, when he came to Bhajan, he said, Srila Prabhupada came to the West and he said, I've come to teach you what you have forgotten. You have forgotten that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Gurudev said, now I have come to teach you. Forget that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how can you do it? Is it possible? Because if I say to you, you can think of anything, but whatever you do, don't think of an apple. Try it. Then you just can't get the apple out of your head. When you're trying to give up thinking of something, just by trying to give up thinking of it, you're thinking of it. So it cannot be done artificially. We cannot say, yes, Krishna is not God. And our Goswamis, they did not do that either. Rupa Goswami is the incarnation of Rupa Manjari. Jiva Goswami is Vilas Manjari. Sanatana Goswami is Labanga Manjari. But they wrote so many books explaining the Aishwarya, the Bhagavata of the Supreme Lord. So in our sadhak form, in this sadhak form, then we should know all Tattva Siddhanta, all of these things. It's necessary. Otherwise you cannot surrender. You cannot surrender to a being who's not all-powerful and can give you complete protection. Yoga kshema vahamyaham. So it's necessary. But when the devotee is chanting Harinam, and internally the moon of Sri Krishna's beautiful shining face appears in the heart, and then his qualities manifest in the stage of Ruchi, then the Madhurya Anubhav, the realization of Krishna's sweetness, is intoxicating. So just as a person who drinks alcohol and then he becomes confused, he doesn't know who I am, where I am, he doesn't know if his shirt is on or his shirt is off. So when a person drinks the intoxicating moon-like rays of the face of Sri Krishna in his heart in the stage of Ruchi, then he starts to forget about the Aishwarya of Krishna while tasting his sweetness in that stage of Ruchi. And gradually he comes in the stage of Asakti, and in the later part of Asakti, then the Abhas, the reflection of your Siddha Roop, the Siddha Deha, will appear. And you will not be absorbed in this Sadak Roop, Sadak Avesh. Then Siddha Avesh, absorption in your spiritual form, will come. And there's no idea that Krishna is God. And one can follow the bridge basis. So, these stages, they cannot be imitated. It has to be real. The greed has to become real. It has to mature factually. This is why Srila Vaishnava Ṭhākura, when he's describing the development of greed, he quotes a verse spoken by Krishna in the 11th canto. Yatha yatatma paribrijyate so mat gunagata shravanabidhanai yatha pashvati vastu shukshmam chakshyo yataivanjana samprayuktam. Some devotees are noting it down. It's 11:14:26. You can note it down. 11:14:26. Yatha yatatma. He's saying here that if a person has a disease of the eyes, then they cannot see clearly. Everything is blurred. But from the doctor, they receive an ointment. And they apply the ointment, and gradually as the ointment is working, then their vision returns. And yatha tata pasyati vastu shukshmam. At first, they could not see very shukshma, fine things. Everything was a blur. But as their eyesight becomes better and better, then pasyati vastu shukshmam, they can begin to see the fine print. Small things, subtle things. So in the same way as a person whose eyesight is being restored by an anjan, that person whose heart is gradually being cleansed by Madguna Gatha Sravanabhidayanai, by hearing, chanting and remembering about Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes. Atma parimrijja, that means his chitta becomes parimrijja, washed clean by hearing, chanting and remembering. So to that degree, now in his heart he begins to see the most subtle thing, the form and the qualities and associates of Sri Krishna. So Srila Ṭhākura uses this verse in Raghavatma Chandrika to illustrate the development of greed. So the development of greed does not correspond to the gradual increase in intensity of being sentimental and fanatical. Yesterday I wanted to serve Radha and Krishna, but today I want more than yesterday. It's not just an idea or sentiment, but rather the real development of greed, it corresponds to the gradual internal realization of the beauty and sweetness of Sri Krishna. This is real greed. So, in this path of Raganuga Bhakti depends on sadhu sangha, hearing and chanting in the association of advanced Vaishnavas. Such nectar which is connected to your aim and object of life. Krishnam smaran janam chasya. Remember Krishna along with the associate you want to follow. Prastam nija samihitam. Here prasta means Krishna. The dear form of Krishna you want to serve. Hey, Radharaman, Bhaktivinoda Bihari. Remember the Prashta Krishna. Janam here, nija samihitam. Along with the associate nija samihitam. Whose methods of service you desire to follow. Tat katara daśā. Always be katharata. That means absorbed in Harikatha. But what kind of Harikatha? You cannot always be absorbed in hearing about Sitaram and Lord Nishingadev and Lakshmi Narayan and so many things. We hear about them on their special appearance and disappearance days. But our main sadhan, tat-tat-katara daśā, is to hear about our Ishtadev Krishna and Radhika and those very associates under whose guidance we aspire to serve. That Katha. Kuryat basam braje sada, and always live in Vrindavan. If you cannot live in Vrindavan physically, then live in Vrindavan in your heart. It's very easy here in Alachur. You come here and you're in the Kunj of Radha Govinda. This place is Vrindavan. But even living in the Vrindavan there, and Giriraj Govardhan, Nandagaon, Varsana, Bangsibhat, Seva Kunj, even staying there. But unless we have the shelter and guidance of pure Rasik Vaishnavas, we never touch the Dham. Because the Dham is covered by a layer of Maya. And then the devotees, they seem to be in Vrindavan geographically. But by heart, they're not there. They're living on the surface covering of Maya. Therefore, sadhu sangha is essential. Absolutely essential. So I want to give an example of tat-tat-katara daśā. Being absorbed in the kata of the associates we want to follow. So before the pravachan today, we sang a song. What song did we sing? You remember? Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe rādhikāra daśā amito sahite nāri. Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, he's given this song in the Gita Mala. First in Gita Mala, there's a description of the nature of pure bhakti and Vaidhi and Raganuga. And there's a summary also of the ujvala-nilamani, about the nature. Jai Shri Radha Govinda Ju ki jai, Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai. That is the Rupanuga Bhajan Darpan, the mirror of Rupanuga Bhajan. And then in the end, Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, he has so many songs, Siddha Lalasa, That is the lalasa, hankering for perfection in spiritual life. So this is the last song that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives there, in which very mercifully, Udghatayami jwalita kataram, he's opening his heart, just like Rupa Goswami at the end of his pastimes in the Utkalika Valley. He said, now I'm opening my heart and I show the scars inside my heart, which have been burnt there indelibly by the tears that I always weep inside, which are blazing hot. So this song, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is opening his heart and inviting his loyal Anugat-jan, those who are following him, to enter into the Nitya Seva of Radha Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the incarnation of Kamala Manjari. And by this beautiful, very beautiful kirtan, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he is transmitting his own chittavrittis. The chittavrittis, every feeling, every sensation that you have is presented to us by the movement of pran in our chitta. That is all of our mental states. So this kirtan of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the transmission of the chittavriti, the entire mental state of Kamala Manjari. If we'll hear it from our Guru, Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru, then, it is like a mantra, and it will open. And we can follow in the footsteps of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Namo Bhaktivinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Surupaya Rupanuga Varayate. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the best of the followers of Rupa Manjari. Rupanuga Varayate. So here, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's saying, Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe rādhikāra daśā amito sahite nāri. Oh, I cannot tolerate it. I simply cannot tolerate it. It's intolerable. What? Srimati Radhika's condition when she's in separation from Krishna. Usually, we cannot tolerate things that happen to ourselves. But you should know that in prem, there's no selfishness at all. There's no consideration of one's own. Nagani apanaduka sababanche tarasuka amarya tatparya. Radharani herself said, I never consider my own happiness. I only want Krishna's happiness. Krishna's happiness is the tatparya, it's the goal of my life. There's nothing outside of this. So in the same way, Kamala Manjari, she has no sense of a personal happiness outside of the happiness of Radhika. So she's saying, Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe rādhikāra daśā. Daśā means condition. Her condition in separation from Krishna. Alas, I cannot tolerate. Too hot. Can't breathe. My prana is leaving. So why viraha? Here is a Vaishishta, a speciality of our sampradaya. Because even in Braj, in the other Braj Rasik sampradayas, they worship Radha Krishna in the state of Nitya Milan. Radha Krishna always together. There's no separation. They're always together in the Nikunj. There's no sense of the parakiya. Because they don't think that they don't think of Madhya Yashoda exists or Nanda Maharaj. It's just Radha and Krishna and the Sakhis in the Kunj forever. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed deeper realization. And that is the Parakiya Rasa. So in this Parakiya Rasa, there are so many obstacles to meeting. Na bhinavi pralambena sambhoga pushtimashnute. Unless the obstacles are there to meeting, then the joy of meeting does not intensify to its highest stage. And Bharat Muni has confirmed it in the Natya Shastra. Bahu varyate kalu yatra prachana kumakatvam cha yachcha mitto durlabhata sa manmatasya paramarati. Cupid, the god of love, he manifests the highest and most intense prema in a situation where the hero and the heroine, they are forbidden to meet. The entire society and all the Vedas say, no, it's impossible. In that condition, the hero and the heroine become more attached. Prachana kamakatvam cha. In that situation where the hero and the heroine, they're in love, but they have to hide their loving feelings from the whole world. They have to suppress them. Then this love becomes more intense. Just like if you feel a sneeze coming, but you're in a place where you can't sneeze. So you try to hold it. But then finally, it comes out and your head explodes. So when you try to suppress something, it becomes more powerful. Just like in a rocket. The fuel is in the base of the rocket, but there's a block at the bottom and there's a small hole. So because the exploding fuel is contained and it can only escape from a small hole, then the rocket goes into space. So in the same way, when the love doesn't have an outlet, but then it finds an outlet, then the rocket of that love of Radha and Krishna goes Anurag, Bhav, Mahabhav, Rudabhav, Adi Rudabhav, to higher and higher levels of love, which are not attainable in any other situation, in a married situation or Nitya Malan situation. So Yachta Mito Durlabhata. And if it's the hero and heroine, it's very rare, it's difficult for them to meet. So the love is intensified. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is saying, Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe rādhikāra daśā amito sahite. I cannot tolerate her condition. How is she? All the senses of Radhika and her prana exist only for giving pleasure to Krishna. Krishnendriya priti vancha taribalikam. Atmendra priti vancha taribalikam Krishnendriya priti icha dhari premnam. The desire to please the senses of Krishna with all of one's own senses is called prem, pure love. And so when Radhika, her senses and prana are deprived of their object, of their very purpose, then it's intolerably painful for Radhika. She loses all enthusiasm, she cannot move. And she's just looking here and there. Pasyati dishi dishi rahasi bhavantam tadadhara madhura madhuni pibantam tadadhara madhura madhuni pibantam. Then the Sakhi of Radhika will have to run quickly to Krishna and tell him about this emergency position. Radhika became so weak, she cannot move. She's only looking here and there. And everywhere she looks, she just sees you. And she's remembering how you're so expert at drinking the nectar of her lips. Muhu avalokita mandana lila madhuripu ahamiti bhavana shila natahari siratirarha vasagrihe. Oh Krishna, it's an emergency. You have to come very soon. Radharani sat down in the kunj. And she saw so many ornaments. And so she took a peacock feather and put it in her hair. And then she was looking at her own bangles and earrings and thinking, who are these for? What does it mean? It means Radhika in separation, she becomes so in avesh, absorbed in Krishna and forgetful of herself, She thought that I am Krishna. Madhuripu aham iti bhavana shīla. It's such a pathetic condition. She went into her kunj to decorate herself and was so lost in thoughts of Krishna, she put on a peacock feather and decorated herself like Krishna. So the situation is very serious. Slishati chumbati jaladhara kalpam harir anugat upagatahiya timidram mandalpam natahari natahari sirati radha basagrihe. Oh Krishna, when I look at her, it's as if she's not present here anymore. And when Radhika just looks at the sky and sees the fresh rain clouds there in the darkness of the night, then she stands up and embraces and begins to kiss the darkness. When Krishna hears this, he becomes choked. His voice becomes choked. He's trembling. He becomes overwhelmed with eagerness, understanding that the situation is so desperate. In what state of unmad, intoxication, madness Radhika has become in separation from Sri Krishna. If the Sakhis, they try to cool her down by fanning her or covering her with the cooling sandalwood paste and making a bed of cooling lotus stems, then all the lotus stems immediately become dry. The sandalwood paste becomes dry, turns to dust and starts to fall off straight away because of the heat of separation. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, absorbed in the mood of the dasi of Radhika, she's saying, Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe rādhikāra daśā ameto sahite nāri. The condition of Radharani in separation from Krishna. I cannot tolerate it at all. jūgala-milana sukhera kāraṇa jīvana chāḍite pāri. For the sake of bringing Radha and Krishna together, the happiness of their meeting, I can do anything. I can give up my life, even. That's why our Param Pujapad Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said, those who are the followers of Rupa Manjari, they are the kamikaze. They are the suicide squad. They're in such a complete state of forgetfulness of their own well-being and filled with empathy, filled with sympathy for Srimati Radhika, that they can do anything to bring Radha and Krishna together. This is the Chitta-vritti of Kamala Manjari. Radhika herself very beautifully described the mood of her Sakhis. One day, Radhika said, Yat sneha pura brita bhajana rādhikāra vartyagyam vartamala deepa yugam chakasti tatscheta retara tamopanudat paroksham anandayed akila pashvakada sadalihi. Krishna had disguised himself. Actually, is that painting over there in the corner? Krishna had disguised himself as a devata, a demigoddess, and came to Radhika and was criticizing Krishna. Krishna's so bad. He's terrible. How can you love this person? He's so cruel to you. And by this, Krishna was provoking Radharani to open her heart. So Radhika said, no, it's not like that. Understand this. If there is a deep, in a temple they have the big ghee lamps, and it's full of oil, full of fragrant oil. And in that fragrant oil there's a wick. But this wick is not just dipped in the oil and lit at one end. This one wick is folded in half and dipped into the ghee, and both ends, dipped into the oil, and both ends of the wick have been lit. So Radhika said that my heart and Krishna's heart, we are one Atma, we are one soul. And that soul is soaked in the fragrant oil of sneha, love and affection. And that fragrant oil of love and affection is burning in the form of two flames. One flame is my body and the other flame is Krishna's body. So we have two bodies, but we are one soul. And our sustenance is the only sneha, affection, love and affection. And as one flame gives light to the other, and the other flame gives light to the other, so our love illuminates each other and illuminates all 8 directions. What are the 8 directions? Lalita, Vishaka, Chitra, Tampakalata, Induleka, Tungavid, Ranga, Devi, Sudevi. 8 Sakis are 8 directions. Radhika said, so my Sakis, they have no light of happiness except for the light that comes from the meeting of our 2 bodies, our 2 flames. Radhika said. Yadyapatet virahamarudat etadata kampam bhavet yugapad eva bhajetcha murcham vyagrasa dalyata tadar avarna yateta tatshushta yetso sukha sadma gatam vidaya. Now consider this. If there are 2 flames and the wind blows, what happens? They both tremble at the same time. So even Radhika is saying, even if Krishna is far away, because we are the 2 flames coming from the one heart, when the wind of separation blows, that means if on one side of Vrindavan, Radhika is trembling in separation, same time Krishna is trembling in separation. If Radhika will cry, Ha Sham Sundar, Krishna somewhere else will faint. Even if he's in the arms of Chandravali. So have you ever done puja outside? Yeah? If you're doing Govardhan puja or something outside, and you're trying to light all the ghee wicks, and there's a wind blowing, and it's really difficult, so you try to get your cloth, and the other devotees come around, and you're trying to protect the flame. Bring the flame into an area where it can illuminate, it can burn without any disturbance. So Radharani said, just as a person tries to protect a flame from the wind by bringing it into a shelter, in the same way, the entire chittavritti of my Sakis is simply trying to bring the 2 flames of myself and Radha and Krishna away from the wind of separation and bring us to the happiness of meeting. So Sakis are like this. Just as a person is trying to protect the flame very carefully. So the Sakis are Madhya Vayasa Sakis Kande Koranyas. Krishna Leela Manobriti Sakya Ashapash. Ramananda Rai said that the Sakis are Radharani's own chittavrittis manifested outside, and they're running here and there. So as Radhika is eager to meet with Krishna, so her her desires are manifest in the form of the Sakis, and they're just running here and there, trying to bring them together. This is Saki Bhav. And among those Sakis, those who are Nitya Sakis, they are the Manjaris, like Rupa Manjari, like Kamala Manjari. They are extraordinary. In the sense that actually Lalita and Vishaka, by Padamaryada, that means by the etiquette of their status within the group, they are superior. By Padamaryada. But by Seva Saubhagya, in respect to the good fortune of rendering very intimate services, then the Manjaris are superior. Because Radha and Krishna, they have shyness in front of their Lalita and Vishaka and their contemporaries. So by Padamaryada, by the etiquette of the social status within the group, Lalita and Vishaka, they're our gurus, they're superior. But by Seva Saubhagya, the fortune of service opportunities, then we want to follow Rupa Manjari, Kamala Manjari, the maidservants. By status, they are lower. But by fortune of service opportunities, they are greater. So Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Ṭhākura, he said, Si Radha Pada Padma Chavi Madarataya Prema Chits Jotre Kambu De Udbhuta Pena Stavakamayatanu Sarva Vaidagya Purna Kaishuras Vanjitas Tarduruga Pagana Shri Chamatkara Bhajo Divyalankara Vasta Anusarasa Sake Radhika Kinkarista. Oh Sakhi, follow the kinkaris, follow the palyadasis, follow the maidservants of Radhika. Why? Divya-alankara vastra. They're so fortunate. They're dressed in Radharani's prasadi ornaments and clothing. When they serve Radhika and Radhika's, please, you're so happy. Yes, oh, let me give you my earrings. Let me give you my veil. Like this. And gradually they become dressed in all the Divya Alankar, divine ornaments and clothing, which are actually part of Radhika's Swarup. Really, from the point of view of Tattva. Everything is the Mahabhav Swarup. So they are dressed, they are so beautiful, they are the repositories of all arts. And in fact, we can say that the two lotus feet of Radhika are effulgent. And the effulgence coming from the lotus feet of Radhika, that is prem, pure love. And that effulgence emanates from the feet of Radhika and condenses and becomes an ocean. And that ocean is turbulent with so many waves. This love is always tarangit, filled with waves of so many emotions. And when those waves in the ocean of love, which is the condensed light of the effulgence of the lotus feet of Radhika, when those waves crash, then a foam is released into the air. Stavakamayitanu and the manjaris, their bodies are made of that foam. This is a Siddha Roop. This is a Siddha Roop. Seva Sadhaka Rupena Siddha Rupena Jati. Hare Krishna. What time can we go on to? We're just discussing the first verse. Yeah? Huh?
She's asking, what does that mean?
Just chant and remember, it will manifest. Harikatha is like a mantra. If you don't realize it right now, but anyway, it's there in the heart. Guru and Vaishnavas have put it in the heart. Go and chant. And those whose hearts are very pure, they can realize it. Sadjo rityavaru tatayatra katibi susrusabish tachanat. There and then. That's called Vidvat Rudigriti. We'll discuss tomorrow on Prabhupada's day. Immediate jatiti pratita. Jatiti pratita. Immediate the experience in the moment of hearing. So we want to come to that stage. So Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe rādhikāra daśā amito sahite nāri. Kamala Manjari is saying, I cannot tolerate Radhika's condition when she's in separation. How it is very difficult to express. Even Radharani herself, she cannot express it. One time, Radhika said, Uttapi putapata kopi garalad gramad api shobano dambo le api du saha katuralam rin magna shalyadapi tivya prauda vishuchikani chatayopya cha mamayan bali maman adya binati gokulapate vishlesha janma jwara. Janma jwara. Yes. A jwara, a fever has come to me. Radharani told her Sakhis, a fever has come to me. Where does this fever come from? Gokulapate Vishlesha Janma Jwara. This fever it is born from the Vishlesh. That means the absence of the embrace of Gokulpati Krishna. This is Radharani's fever. If she's embraced by Sri Krishna, she can be cool. If there's no embrace of Krishna, this is a fever. He Gokulapati, saying Gokulapati. Actually, Gokulpati is Nanda Maharaj. But the pain of the separation is so intense that she did not say Gokulapati Nandan. She could not complete the name. So Radharani was struggling to express, what is it like? Uttapi putapata kopi. What is the Putapat, Paka, Putapaka. Have you heard of Puttapaka? Do we have any doctors of Ayurvedic medicine here? Oh, here. Yeah. Do you know Puttapak? Yes, it's the method for making the bhashma. That means ashes. In Ayurveda, there are some very powerful treatments that require ashes of different types of metal. Like paradbhashma means mercury ash, or tamra bhashma, copper ash, or loha bhashma, iron ashes, or especially swarna bhashma, gold ashes. So to make this gold ashes, there's a process called puttapak. A clay pot, 2 clay pots are taken, and in one clay pot, the gold is put there, and it's mixed, some herbs are added to it, and then the other clay pot is put on top, and it's bound, and then it's put inside a fire. And this method actually creates intense heat inside the pots in such a way that the actual constitution of the gold and the herbs becomes fused together, and it makes it a swarna bhashma, gold ash. And then later this can be given as a medicine. So the teaching here is that the fire inside the puttapak is much, much higher than the heat of the fire itself. So Radharani is saying, Uttapi puttapak pu. Oh, the heat of this fever of separation is more intense than the puttapak fire. Garalad gramana pishobano. If you will take a deadly poison, then this deadly poison makes such a disturbance. But this fever of separation from Śrī Kṛṣṇa is more intense than the multiple overdoses of several different poisons at the same time. Dambola apidusa. Oh, Saki, I cannot tolerate it. Dambola apidusa. It is as intolerable as the thunderbolt of Indra. You know, Indra has such a weapon. If he fires his thunderbolt at a mountain, then the mountain is reduced to dust. Katuralandrin magna salyadapi. This pain of separation is more piercing than a spear through the heart. Tivra prauda vishuchikani. This fire of separation is more horrific than the last stage of cholera. If someone has cholera, Shishi Gornitai ki jai, Shishi Radha Govinda Ju ki jai. If someone has cholera, it goes through so many stages. In the last stage, there's just wave after wave of discomfort. The body feels a wave of discomfort and another one and another one. And it's horrific. Radhika said, it is like this. It is mama adya binati. It is as if someone is piercing each one of the vital organs of my body. Each part of the painful soft spots of my body are being pierced at the same time. And the burning of puttapak and the taste of poison and the thunderbolt on the head, all of these things at the same time. This is separation of Radhika. So Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe rādhikāra daśā amito sahite nāri. This separation, from this we can understand the Dwani. How intense is the love of Radhika for Krishna? Because a person will only experience separation corresponding to how deep their love is. If you say, oh, I love this person, you have a friend or a family member, you love them, and then they go somewhere, you forget about them. Right? That this love is not pure. But where the love is completely unconditional, and in the highest stage, Radhika's prem, the separation of Krishna, it is intolerable. So, Kamal Manjari is saying, Amito sahite nāri, I cannot tolerate Radhika's separation. Why? Because all these things that were described about the pain of Radhika, these are reflected in her dasis. Prabhupada Saraswati Ṭhākura said, Patatrasya Swasya bhavati pulake jate puluka. Smite bhati smera sumalimani jate sumalina. Anasa jaswali mukaram aviviksha swabadane. Sukhamba dukamba kamapi kataniya mrigadrisha. He's saying, if Radharani's manjaris are with her, then she does not have to look in a mirror to see what is the expression on her face. No need of a mirror. Because Radhika has yavadashray vritti, that means the vibration of her love, the vritti of her love spreads out. And those who are fully dedicated to her, they become vyapt, they become permeated by that. So patastre sastra bhavati, when teardrops come in the eyes of Radhika, the same teardrops come in the eyes of the manjaris. When Radhika's hair stand on end, then in the same way, the manjaris' hair stand on end at the same time. When Radhika smiles, the manjaris smile. When Radhika looks sad, the manjaris look sad. So Radhika doesn't need a mirror. She just looks at her sakis because all of her emotions are expressed there. So don't think that, oh, Radhika is in this fire of separation, in this heat, and the manjaris are not feeling. No, everything is reflected in them. They cannot tolerate. Even sometimes if Radhika will faint, they cannot do anything to help because she faints, they also faint. Big problem. But when Radhika faints, then internally she experiences meeting with Krishna. And when the manjaris faint, then they also show up and they serve Radha and Krishna. So that fainting is also good. So how can we tolerate this? There's one bridge bas sung. Kahu go bara patini, kahu dovatapai, ek suhagen ladali, bolatahu alasai. The meaning is that some gopis, they spend their time making the cow dung patties. Other gopis, they have to go and they bring water. But there's one suhagen ladali, there's one beautiful girl who's so fortunate, even if she speaks, she becomes exhausted just by speaking. So this is poetry. The meaning is that Srimati Radhika is such a very soft and tender princess that all her sakis are thinking she should not undergo any difficulty, any problem, or any inconvenience at all. So how can they tolerate when Radhika is in this great inconvenience? I'm just taking one line of Srila Bhaktivinoda, Śrī Kṛṣṇa-virahe, rādhikāra, daśā, and looking at this jewel from different sides. So amito sahite nāri, how can they tolerate jūgala-milana, sukhera, kāraṇa, jīvana, chāḍite, pāri? For the sake of the sukh, that is the happiness of jūgala-milana, Radha and Krishna's meeting, then I'm ready to give up my life. We're so fortunate we can come here and have darshan of Radha and Krishna's meeting. Here they are. This is not an ordinary thing. Radha Krishna's meeting. This is the most significant thing. You know, all the millions and millions of universes. There's nothing like this, the meeting of Radha and Krishna. jūgala-milana, sukhera, kāraṇa. The happiness of Radha and Krishna's meeting doesn't even take place when they meet. It starts before they even meet. Why? Because that's the nature of Mahabhav. Radhika is in separation and the Mahabhav spreads out and begins to affect the entire atmosphere. If Krishna is in the forest of Vrindavan, and then he looks around and sees all the birds start flying here and there and they're squawking and singing, the trees are starting to tremble, Esha Nantikavartini Suragile Iva Riti Antabu Agre Kim Kalayami Kanchana Rajam Udgara Gauri Disha Amgyatam Maninu Paradwani Barad Ali Janalankrita Kanti Nam Kula Devata Vilasitum Brindata Vimbindati. Krishna sees, why has the whole forest become golden? Tapta Kanchana Gora, because Radharani, she has the effulgence of molten gold. So before they even meet, before she even arrives there, then Krishna starts to see the whole forest becoming golden. And one of the symptoms of Mahabhav is Mohadya bhave atmadi savam vismaranam sada. That means it makes you forget who you are, where you are, what you're doing. So just when the golden, before Radharani even arrives, her golden effulgence arrives. And it touches Krishna, and Krishna can't even remember who he is or where he is. Doesn't know where he is. So he's saying, Esha Nanti Kavartini Surakire Ilavati. Where am I? Did I come to Ilavratavarsh? Do you know Ilavratavarsh? So the Sumeru mountain is golden. And when the sun shines off the Sumeru mountain, then the gold flows into the forest in Ilavratavarsh, and the whole forest becomes golden. And that's where Shiva stays with Parvati. And Lord Shiva has made a rule that he should not be disturbed there. So if anyone will enter that forest where he's meeting with Parvati, any male person, they'll turn into a woman. Into a woman. Even there was a king, he was riding his horse. And he entered into the forest, and he saw it turned into a woman. Yeah? Even his horse was male, he's turned into a mare. So that forest is famous for being golden forest. So in the same way, Krishna said, what happened? I was wandering around, and now by accident I have arrived here at the Ilavratavarsh. How did that happen? Agre Kim Kalayami Kanchana Udgara Gauri Disha. This golden effulgence is everywhere. Krishna's hairs are standing on end. He's experiencing the Vismay Rasa. Adbhut Rasa. He's astonished. He can't remember who am I. And then he hears the sound of Radhika's ankle bells. Aneka mantranada manjunu purara vaskalat samaja raja hangsa vangsa. Bah! The jingling of her ankle bells is like the singing of Rajahamsa swans. And they're not singing some ordinary song. They're singing mantras. And these mantras are akarshan mantras. That means which are attracting the mind of Krishna. Krishna hears the sound of the nupurs. And then he thinks, oh, no. Amgyatam, now I understand. You know, one type of sanctuary bhav is called the vitarka, where the person is confused and wondering, is it like this or is it like that? Am I in Ilavratavarsh? Am I not in Ilavratavarsh? Then he decides, Amgyatam. Then mati comes. After speculating, what am I doing? Then when a person makes a decision, that sanctuary bhav is called mati. So Krishna, Amgyatam maninu parab dwani barad. Now I know. I'm not in Ilavratavarsh at all, but rather, Kanti namkula devata vilasitum brindata vimbindati. The goddess of Kanti, the goddess of effulgence, must have entered the forest here, and that's why it became golden. It must be true, because I can hear the sound of her ankle bells and the sounds of, she's coming here along with her Sakhis. Of course, again, Krishna's wrong. He made up his mind. He decided what the answer is, but even that was wrong. So this is jūgala-milana sukhera, the happiness of Radha Krishna's meeting. It is such that even before they meet, when their effulgences are extending beyond each other and mixing together, already the ecstasy comes. So when the actual meeting takes place, then, this happiness cannot be described. Heitur me hridayotsavasya vividha kamam kramadvadatam prapnod asya gunadiroha padavim radhabhisarasya ka yasmin alpataram manoratitatissimam mapi pranite sandranandamayi bhavattanupama Sadyo Jagat Vismriti. See, Krishna is saying, in this Braja, there are many Hriday Mahotsavas. That means there are many festivals of joy for my heart. When I see my cows, it's a festival of joy. When I see my mother and father, Nanda and Yashoda, it's a festival of joy. There are so many festivals of joy. When I wrestle with my cowherd friends in the forest, it's a festival of joy. There are so many festivals of joy. But Krishna is saying that if I have a scale and I pile up all the festivals of joy in Braj on top of each other, Gunadi Roa Padavim, and even they're not static, they're ecstatic. Each one of these festivals of joy is increasing all the time. And I stack them on top of each other and they put them on one side of the scale, then all of that cannot be equal to Radha-abhisarasya. How can it be equal to Abhisar? Just going on the journey to meet with Radharani. Not even meeting her, just going on the journey on the way there. All the festivals of joy, Hetu Meiri Utsavasa, cannot be equal to just the journey. And if I'm going there, and Yasmin Alpataram, Manorati Tatisimam, Krishna's kavya, Krishna's poetry is so relishable. Krishna is saying that, and if my desire to meet with Radharani, no, not the desire, the far extreme end of the tip of the desire is fulfilled alpataram in the smallest degree, then Sandra-ananda, I get such condensed happiness, bhavattunupama, which is incomparable to anything else. Sarvam sadyo jagat vismriti. I forget the entire universe. I forget the whole universe. The cosmos doesn't exist anymore because I almost met with Radhika. Sandra-ananda mayim bhavattunupama sadyo jagat vismriti. Oh, the first, Hetu Meiri Utsavasa, this Rupa Goswami saying. That's the first line. So, Krishna, he forgets the whole universe. And the Kunj becomes his universe. There's nothing. Now the Kunj is his cosmos. It is everything. This is what you are seeing when you come and you stand before Radha Govinda. This is jūgala-milana, sukhera. Are you appreciating your good fortune when you come here for the darshan of Radha Govinda? What is this? Actually, Rupa Goswami, he said in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu that Tatat bhavadi madhurya, you get lobh, greed, by hearing. And in another verse he said, you get greed by darshan of the deity and hearing. What's the meaning? The meaning is that the darshan of the deity can awaken and nourish your greed, but only if it's along with hearing the glories of Radha Govinda. But if you don't have darshan of the deity and you just hear, it will still be effective and awaken greed. Understand? So Thakurji's darshan is very effective. It helps, it nourishes, it helps awaken the lobh, but it has to be along with hearing. Ṭhākura taschaso kuryat bhāsam braje sada. Hearing the moods of the associates of Radha Govinda and darshan together is most effective. So when Krishna is approaching Radhika and he's just seeing her in the distance, he has that condensed, incomparable happiness that makes him forget the whole universe. And then Radhika looks at Krishna. And when she looks at him, she can't even look at him. Why? Bo Bhagavan Ananda Bhajanja Nakalu Runjatam. Because at once, Ananda explodes in her heart and she's about to faint in happiness. And if she can try to struggle and compose herself and to stay conscious, then tears are coming and blocking her vision. So Radhika said, Bo Bhagavan Ananda Bhajanja Nakalu Ranjatan. Krishna is like a moon. And my eyes are like Ṭhākura birds who can only subsist by drinking the sweetness of the rays of the moon of Krishna's face. But my own Ananda, she's praying to her own Ananda. Bo Bhagavan, Ananda Parjanya. Oh Bhagavan, that means, oh most respectable Ananda. You are like a cloud which is eclipsing the moon of Krishna, so please don't. Let me see him just for 1 second. She prays to her own Ananda, which is stealing that moment from her. She says this to herself. And then outwardly she says to Vishaka, Yuktam Yuktam, Yad Etat Sarlaham Vanchitasmi. Oh, yes, yes, very appropriate, very appropriate. Lalita, I came for a walk with you. And now you've cheated me, I'm such a simple person. I only wanted to go for a walk with you in the forest and you've brought me into the trap of this notorious person. This is the vakrata, the crookedness of praying. Inwardly she's so happy to see him, she has to beg her own Ananda to get out of the way. And then the next moment she's chastising Lalita. Why did you bring me here? And complaining. Oh, glories to the anurag of Radhika. Even though it's completely pure, it's filled with crookedness. Pure people are simple and straightforward. And contaminated people are crooked. But Radhika is pure and crooked. How is that? This is the viparya, the viruddha dharma, the contradictory nature of praying. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is saying, jūgala-milana, sukhera kāraṇa, jīvana chāḍite pāri. For the sake of this happiness of Radha Krishna's meeting together, I can give up my life completely. This is the bhava of Kamala Manjari. I have to stop, right?
No.
I have to stop?
No.
You can all say, but you are not the managers. Who's the manager? Okay, a little bit. So our Srila, we're discussing, what is this? First, Kamala Manjari is saying, I cannot tolerate separation under any circumstances. I'll do anything to bring Radha Krishna together, because when Radha Krishna come together, oh, how beautiful is the joy of Radha and Krishna. This is the nature of Braja, the nature of Prem. Krishna is only living to give happiness to Radhika. Radhika is only living to give happiness to Krishna. The Sakhis are only living to give happiness to Radha and Krishna. And all of Vrindavan, every tree and creeper and flower is only living to give happiness to the Sakhis and Radha and Krishna. This is what it means, Koryad Vasad Brajesada, always residing Braj. In that this atmosphere is in your heart at every moment. When you chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande. So everyone, please try to chant Harinam without offense every day. Without this, there's no entrance into Ragamarg. And then on top of this, as far as possible, try to seek out the Braj Rasik, Rupanuga Vaishnava Sadhu Sangha. To be nourished by Shuddha Harikatha, Tat Katha Rataschaso, Kuryad Basam Braje Sada. Then all the leaves and creepers and flowers and manjaris of Braj will manifest in the heart through the darshan, through the ears, through Tekshitapat. And one can continuously chant Harinam and reside there. Gradually, the mercy of Radha and Krishna and their associates will come. We only discussed the first verse of this kirtan. Maybe afterwards we'll go to New York we can speak about the next verses in New York. Who's going to New York? Anyone? Yeah? And then we go to New Jersey. Anyone? Okay, so you can see you raise their hand, jump in the car with them, and join us on the rest of the tour. Otherwise, I'd like to extend invitation to all devotees. Please come to, in India, we'll have a big festival in Goa, the end of January. Then after Goa, we're going to Navadvip for complete Navadvip Dham Parikrama. And then we'll return to Vrindavan and have Vrindavan retreat for a few months. Just Harikatha and Kirtan every day in Vrindavan, and some Parikrama as well. We'll be there during Gaur Punim. So this is beautiful. Not only is Vrindavan hidden in Navadvip, but Navadvip is also hidden in Vrindavan. Yes, Gurudev said this. One year we did not go to Navadvip, and we celebrated Gaur Punim in Braj. But one of the specialities of also celebrating Gaur Punim in Braj is, in Braj, Gaur Punim day is Ajavirajame Hori Re Rasiya. Rajame Hori Re Rasiya. Ho 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 Hori Re Rasiya. So Modan Dev Varnata Jhori Ṭhākura Nam Karyata Hori. What does Hori mean? Hori, holy means when the Sakhis address each other and they look towards Radha and Krishna and they can't believe their eyes how beautiful Radha and Krishna are. They've never seen them so beautiful in their life, and even now they're seeing them. 2 seconds later, another wave of beauty comes that was more than the previous wave of beauty. And when the Sakhis address each other and point out the beauty of Radha and Krishna with anuragas, the waves and waves of their sweetness are increasing, they say, Hori Re! This is Hori. So please come and join us in Braj for Gaur Punim and Hori. Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Bhage Vrindavan Bihari Lala ki jai, Varasani Wali ki jai, Jai Jai Śrī Ram Gaur Premanande.